Men, pay attention. What I'm about to say now may surprise you. Many people think violence is just a slap, a scratch, or a bruise. But there's a kind of violence that doesn't show up on the body. It shows up in the mind. It doesn't leave visible marks, but rather scars on self-esteem, confidence, and the way you see the world. This is psychological violence, and the worst part, it often comes disguised as affection, concern, or a joke, and you don't even realize you're being manipulated. Want to learn how to identify these signs and protect yourself? Subscribe to the channel now and don't miss the next videos. Here you'll learn how to identify boundaries and regain your self-respect. 1. The invisible poison of words. Have you ever stopped to think that a simple phrase can hurt more than a punch? Well, it's true. Words carry enormous weight, and when used incorrectly, they can become poison. Some manipulative women know this exactly, using phrases that seem innocent but that, little by little, undermine a man's trust. They release things like, "You never do anything right," or "No one but me will want you." At first, it may seem like just a criticism or a lip service. But when these phrases are repeated day after day, they start to stick in your mind. And after hearing them so often, you start to believe that you're truly worthless without that person. This is how prisons are built, not with iron bars, but with repeated phrases, with small doses of humiliation and guilt that accumulate until you feel trapped. The worst part? Often, you don't even realize you're inside this prison because it's not physical, it's mental. But words are only the first step. There's something even more painful, a kind of silence that cuts you to the core. Have you ever heard a phrase that stuck in your head for days? Tell us in the comments. 2. The punishment of silence. It's not always what's said that hurts. Sometimes it's precisely what's left unsaid. Silence can also be used as a powerful weapon. Many manipulative women know this and turn the absence of words into a form of punishment. They ignore your messages, refuse to talk, and make you feel like you have to beg for attention. This cold treatment creates a feeling of anxiety, a void that grows until you feel invisible. It's as if all the affection and connection that once existed were suddenly taken away, leaving you lost, unable to understand what you did wrong. This game is cruel. Affection becomes a currency. Today it gives, tomorrow it takes. You never know when you'll be rewarded or punished, and little by little, you begin to believe you deserve even the basics, to be heard, to be noticed. But when silence is no longer enough, an even more corrosive weapon appears, capable of turning everything against you. Blame shifting. 3. Blame inversion. Here, the manipulation reaches its most cruel point. Suddenly, no matter what happens, the blame always falls on you. If she screams, the justification is simple. You were the one who provoked it. If she cheats, the excuse is even more perverse. It's because you didn't pay enough attention. It's as if every mistake she makes is dumped on you, even the ones that have nothing to do with you. Little by little, this weight accumulates, and you begin to question whether you're truly to blame for everything. And that's where the danger lies. When you start to believe you deserve every criticism, every outburst, every accusation. This is the essence of psychological manipulation, turning the victim into the culprit, turning the tables so that you alone carry the burden of keeping the relationship afloat. The problem is, no one can bear this burden forever. But there is something even darker, perhaps the cruelest blow of all, the silent threat of abandonment. Have you ever experienced something like this, where it seemed like everything always ended up being your fault? 4. The fear of being alone. Few things scare a human being more than loneliness, and manipulative women know exactly how to weaponize this fear. They throw around phrases like, "Without me, no one will love you." Or they drop hints that they could leave at any moment if you don't do what they want. This puts you in a constant state of alert. It's as if every wrong move could be your last before being abandoned. Little by little, this fear of losing the relationship makes you swallow humiliations, accept unfair conditions, and cling to a situation that only hurts. After all, the idea of being alone seems even worse than remaining trapped in this psychological game. It's like living in an emotional prison, held hostage by the idea that, without it, you're worthless. And the more this thought grows, the harder it becomes to see the truth. That it's precisely this fear that fuels manipulation. But there's an even more subtle, almost invisible way that destroys your confidence from the inside out. And this is often the most dangerous of all. Have you ever believed at some point that you couldn't move forward alone? 5. The silent destruction of trust. Little by little, your mind is being eroded without you even realizing it. It starts by throwing out seemingly simple phrases like, "You made this up," or "It's getting crazy." At first, it may sound like just a disagreement, but constant repetition takes effect. From hearing it so much, you begin to doubt your own memory. Did it really happen the way you remember? Did you exaggerate? Little by little, your self-confidence is eroded, and you can no longer distinguish between reality and manipulation. This process has a name: gaslighting, a cruel technique used to directly mess with your sanity, making you believe the problem is always within you. It's as if your mind is reprogrammed to accept any version of the story it wants to tell. And the most dangerous thing of all, you often only realize it when you're already completely caught in this web. But there is another strategy that can be just as devastating: when manipulation comes disguised as love. Have you ever doubted yourself because someone made it seem like it was all in your head? The love that binds. This is perhaps one of the most insidious scams. Here, the manipulation doesn't appear as criticism or silence, but as a false display of affection. It says things like, "I only do this because I love you," or "If I care so much, it's because you are everything to me." On the surface, it seems like affection, but in practice, it's a way of trapping you in a web of guilt and dependence. This distorted love makes every abusive act seem like care. If it controls you, it's because I'm afraid of losing you. If she humiliates you, it's because wants you to get better. You begin to confuse love with possession, protection with imprisonment. And without realizing it, you begin to accept situations that you would never tolerate in any other relationship. The danger is that when manipulation comes wrapped in pretty words, it becomes much harder to see the trap. It's like receiving poison in a glass of honey, sweet on the outside, but destructive on the inside. And it is precisely here that the question that no one likes to face arises. Is this true love, or just a sophisticated form of control? The comparison that destroys another silent but devastating weapon is constant comparison. It uses phrases like, "The ex did it better," "So-and-so treats his girlfriend differently," or even, "Why can't you be more like him?" At first glance, it seems like just a comment, but when repeated, it becomes a direct attack on your identity. These comparisons create within you the feeling of never being enough. No matter what you do, there will always be someone better. And, without realizing it, you begin to live in search of approval, trying to prove you can measure up. But the truth is, this standard is impossible to reach, because it was never meant to be fair, but to keep you insecure and dependent. Over time, you start to believe you have to compete with ghosts, exes, co-workers, even people who aren't even in your life. It's a race with no finish line, where the reward never comes. And that's the cruel thing. The more you try to please, the more she controls. Have you ever felt like you were always being compared and put down in a relationship? Conclusion: men, get this straight. Violence isn't measured solely in punches or screams. Often, it hides between the lines, in hurtful phrases, in punishing silences, and in emotional games that slowly erode the mind. The body may be unmarked, but the mind carries deep scars that change the way you see yourself. Recognizing these signs is the first step toward breaking the invisible prison that can destroy your self-esteem and even steal your identity. Because true love doesn't humiliate, threaten, or manipulate. True love strengthens. If you identify with any of these situations, understand. This isn't love, it's psychological violence, and the sooner you recognize this, the sooner you can free yourself. In the next video, I'll show you practical strategies to protect yourself from these invisible attacks before they destroy what's most valuable to you, your mind. And tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed any of these signs in a relationship?